Today is the 26th of July, a day etched in the hearts of every Indian. This very day, a neighbor had betrayed India and tried to claim a part of its territory. Today is Kargil Vijay Diwas. These three words stir a blend of national pride and solemn remembrance for Indians. On the 25th anniversary of Operation Vijay, celebrated across the country, it honors the unwavering courage and sacrifice of the Indian Armed Forces during Kargil War of 1999. This day serves as a powerful reminder of the remarkable victory achieved against all odds amidst the harsh Himalayan terrain. Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching Statecraft. Kargil War in 1999 was the result of Pakistan's betrayal and the long-argued stance over who controls Kashmir. Both countries have claimed the area since they split in 1947. This very disagreement has led to wars and conflicts between their armies over the years. But the conflict got even worse when both neighbors tested nuclear weapons in 1998, making the situation very dangerous. Despite efforts to calm tensions like the Lahore Declaration, distrust between India and Pakistan remained, and Pakistani military establishment continued to plan against India. It was in the summer of 1999 that Pakistan's military decided to secretly send soldiers and terrorists or mujahideens into Kargil. This is an area in Kashmir that is controlled by India. In Pakistan's Operation Badr, Pakistani soldiers disguised as mujahideens.
That you were very clear that you are not fighting mujahideen. You were very clear you were fighting the Pakistan army?
Absolutely. The unit we were fighting was 1920 force. Once the attacks were launched, once we started taking their posts, we found documents, we found weapons, and finally, by the end of our operations, we recovered a soldier alive from 1920 force.
Hoped to cut off India's main road to a key area called Siachen Glacier and use this move to force India into settling the Kashmir issue on their terms. However, Pakistan's plan had big flaws. Along with that, Pakistan's plans misjudged India's reaction when India found out about the infiltration in May 1999. In retaliation, New Delhi launched Operation Vijay. The Indian armed forces fought back hard to take back their territory. The fight was tough. India managed to successfully repel the advances made by Pakistani soldiers. The victory in war was achieved through a series of intense battles involving artillery, airstrikes and infantry assaults. And most importantly, the sacrifices made by Indian soldiers who stood by their nation to protect its territory. According to official data, the world's highest battle resulted in the death of 527 Indian soldiers, while 1,363 were wounded. The then Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, admitted to over 4,000 Pakistani casualties. Today is a tribute to the sacrifice made by the Indian soldiers and India's commitment to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Needless to say, Kargil War also marks a watershed moment in India-Pakistan relations, which has always been on rocky water. From the turbulent period following independence and partition to the Kargil War in 1999. India and Pakistan have struggled to coexist peacefully. Efforts at building lasting peace over the years, like those through the Shimla Agreement, the Non-Nuclear Aggression Agreement of 1998, the Lahore Agreement, as well as the bus diplomacy efforts by the then Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, came to a standstill with the Kargil War. Although since the war, the two neighbors have tried to avoid direct confrontation, Pakistan had learned her lessons. But the situation continues to remain tense.
उसके बाद फिर वाजपेयी साहब लाहौर तशरीफ लाए। याद है या नहीं याद है? याददाश्त कमजोर है ना आपकी? तो तशरीफ लाए और हमसे आके यहाँ पे मुआहदा किया। ये अलग बात है कि हमने मुआहदे की खिलाफ वर्जी की, उसमें हमारा कसूर है, उसमें हम कसूरवार हैं। लेकिन अब अल्लाह के फजल करम से शहबाज शरीफ साहब दोबारा इस मनसब पे फायज हुए हैं।
Especially when India is witnessing a rise in border skirmishes and exchange of fire in Jammu and Kashmir. Today, we try to understand how the Kargil War changed India and its relations with the world, especially with a few significant countries, including that of the United States of America, Russia, Israel, and China. As far as India is concerned, the war highlighted the need for improved intelligence and defense preparedness. Keeping that in mind, initiatives to further improve India's security and defense started. Changes were based on reports by a group of ministers set up by Prime Minister Vajpayee in 2000, as well as on the recommendations made by the Kargil Review Committee led by K. Subramaniam. This included appointment of a unified Chief of Defence Staff to provide single-point military advice to the government, which was finally implemented in the year 2019 with the appointment of General Bipin Rawat as India's first CDS. In addition to that, creation of the Defence Intelligence Agency in 2000 and that of the NTRO, that is National Technical Research Organisation, in 2004 also owe their origins to the lessons from Kargil War. Let us now turn our attention to how the war with Pakistan impacted India's relations with important partners. The international community, particularly the United States and Russia, played a crucial role during the conflict. Let's first talk about the US. During the Cold War period, while non-aligned India leaned towards the Soviet Union, the United States of America supported Pakistan. Following the 1958 Pakistani military coup, President Muhammad Ayub Khan had also established a strong military alliance with Washington, D.C. At this time, US was also concerned about non-proliferation in South Asia. Kargil War was a turning point in America's foreign policy with India. Under President Bill Clinton, US condemned Pakistan's actions and insisted on the withdrawal of its troops. This was the first instance of US publicly supporting India. President Clinton's diplomatic intervention in the war, which was instrumental in bringing an end to the conflict, and the subsequent summit with Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif resulted in Clinton's visit to India the next year, the first by an American president in over 20 years. Warm engagement between Washington, D.C. and New Delhi at that time continues to this day. Over the years, the US has recognized India as a strategic partner in South Asia. Both countries have cooperated with each other in defense, counterterrorism, and economic sectors. The US-India Civil Nuclear Agreement of 2008 underscored the growing strategic partnership between the two nations. However, there is an issue with Pakistan. US's ties with Pakistan has always been a niggling area for the two countries. Next up is Russia, with whom India has shared a long-standing strategic partnership since 1947. Russia has been India's key diplomatic ally and its primary military equipment supplier during and even after the Cold War. Russia's continued support to India during the conflict, diplomatically, at international forum, as well as militarily, played a significant role in India's military operations during the conflict. India-Russia relations have remained strong over the years, and their strategic partnership has extended beyond defense. The two nations are also developing relations in energy, space exploration, and trade. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Moscow early in July for the 22nd annual summit between the two countries reaffirms the special relationship between the two countries and its leaders, much to the dismay of the West, particularly the United States of America. Amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas war and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, let's take a look at how relations between India and Israel have evolved and the role that the Kargil War played. While India had recognized Israel in 1950, full-scale diplomatic relations were established only in 1992. However, informal ties, especially in defense and intelligence, have been strong. Israel's military support included the supply of surveillance drones and laser-guided missiles. The supply of weapons by Israel played a critical role in India's bid to neutralize enemy positions effectively. The importance of a strong bilateral relationship with each other, which was highlighted by the Kargil War, was well heeded by both states, and cooperation between the two has continued to grow over the last 2 decades, especially in strategic partnership and sectors of defense, counterterrorism, agriculture, and technology.
Finally, let's take a look at China. Despite historical rhetoric about an excellent friendship, India-China relations have been largely reactive.
In 1962, New Delhi and Beijing were involved in a war over the disputed Aksai region. Between 1962 and 1989, China even tried to detach India from Russia and used Pakistan for this. China has also supported Pakistan in its conflicts with India in 1948, 1965, and then again in 1971.
However, when it comes to the Kargil War, unlike earlier instances of conflicts between India and Pakistan, where Beijing sided with Islamabad, it was China's continued posture of neutrality that compelled Pakistan to retreat from Kashmir.
Relations with China have, however, not been at their best. China's India policy over the years has been influenced by its own strategic relations with Russia and the US. And therefore, India-China relations keep changing between rhetoric of friendship and instances of conflict, the most recent of which was seen in the Galwan conflict of 2020. However, with India's position having changed globally and Pakistan's position internally within the country having changed domestically, Pakistan has now expressed remorse. The recent remarks by Nawaz Sharif on the Kargil conflict is telling.
Kargil War, in effect, was not just part of a series of wars on Kashmir between India and Pakistan. It's a reminder of the fragile peace that once existed between the two nations. The war also had far wider implications. It was a turning point in South Asian geopolitics. It also redefined India-US relations, strengthened its relationship with Russia and Israel, and provided new avenues for India-China cooperation. At the time, these relationships have significantly shaped India's foreign policy and its position on the global stage. The Kargil War wasn't just fought on the battlefield. It was a televised conflict, a strategic tool in shaping international and domestic perceptions, which, as the Kargil Review Committee report stated, can be a valuable force multiplier and help in avoiding international alienation. However, for India, the struggle with Pakistan continues. Pakistan continues to adopt terrorism as an instrument of state policy, and unless Pakistan rejects and stops using this policy, there is going to be no forward movement between the countries, and there is going to be no peace at the border. That's all in this edition of Statecraft. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to India Today Global.